Friends. It is your pal, your career coach and recruiter friend, Phil Davis here over at Fulfillment. It is Thursday. I can't believe it, but thank you all for being here. I decided to go solo this week just to kind of quasi reset the stage a little bit, talk to folks, get folks to understand a little bit about who Phil is, who Fulfillment's all about, but really more importantly, to kind of bring in the theme around like interviewing inspiration, right? Because as we know, in order to get a role or to get a new position, right, we've got to interview, we got a job interview. And I figured I'm like, you know what? Like I have a pretty big interview this afternoon, and I had a little bit of time this morning to just get on here live with y'all and just to chat. You know, very informal, as most of y'all know. I'm very informal when it comes to these lives. So definitely feel free if you're tuning in live here, either on LinkedIn or YouTube. Feel free to say hi in the comments. Let us know where you're tuning in from. I'm definitely going to be monitoring. I can't talk. Monitoring your comments as they come through and all that good stuff. Denise, thank you so much for being here. It looks like you are tuning in from Houston, Texas. So thank you so much for being here, friend. I know we're catching up a little bit tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to chatting and getting to catch up and all that good stuff. Stephen, my man, thank you so much, my friend, from the NY. So thank you for tuning in up north in New York. I hope it's not too cold up there. We're starting to get I think another series of storms and weather down here in Atlanta. It's been kind of off and on, so it's been kind of crazy. Denise, thank you so much for the warm wishes. Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous for this one, but that's one thing we're going to talk about, right? Like how we can release nerves and stuff along the interview and stuff like that. So thank you so much for tuning in from Brooksville, Florida. It looks like that's Angela. Thank you for being here as well. I appreciate it. Definitely, I definitely appreciate everybody tuning in and all that good stuff. But yeah, keep the comments coming. So as much as I didn't want to do this today, I wanted to kind of at least share like an informal presentation with y'all, just to have some visuals up on the screen. So I'm gonna bring my presentation up first in a screen share. You'll be able to see me on the right hand side of your screen, I believe, as well, just to kind of start things off and give kind of a little agenda. And then I'm going to come back here in full, or I mean in fill, right there. I like kind of saying that fun. And then we'll bring the presentation back a little bit later. And then of course, as I'm presenting a little bit, I definitely want you to write out some comments, give us some feedback, um, learn and listen from each other in the community. And then once I go back off screen on here, I'll bring comments up a little bit later because I won't be able to see your comments as I'm presenting my presenting the PowerPoint to you all. So definitely keep things going. And without further ado, I'm going to bring that up here now. If you could, friends, when I do bring it up, just put in the comments whether you're able to see the presentation or not here right now. So if you're able to see it, please let me know. Just give me like a yay, or yes, I see it, or looks good, all that good stuff, real quick. So just let me know. Yes, you're good, Phil. I see it. It's all good. Phil, what presentation? Thanks, Julie, for tuning in. I appreciate it as well. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so very much. Excellent. So it looks like we're good there. Perfect. Awesome. I see the presentation. I can see it. Awesome. Thank you all so much. Okay. So I'm going to on the back end, I'm going to bring the presentation up on my Thank you all so much. Your feedback's in this place so much. Everybody is so supportive, right? Like I love it. And it's just y'all are great. So okay, I'm gonna put on my computer screen, I'm gonna put my presentation up on the back end, but please keep comments coming as I show you some stuff, and then I'll definitely monitor and we'll learn from each other and we'll engage today. So thank you all again so much for joining me here for some interview inspiration. with, of course, your coach, recruiter, and friend over at Fulfillment Solutions LLC. I'm Phil. I like to have a good time, hence my picture on the back left side, because, business is fun and all, and it should be just a good time, right? So that's kind of part of my brand. But I also kind of want to start off and like I said earlier, kind of quasi reset my own room, if you will, with you all here, because I'm sure there are folks out there who may not know who I am entirely, and so I'm like, you know what? Let me just kind of start off and share a little bit about me, if I can. Here we go. And move on to my next my next page with my mouse. Technical difficulties. That's okay. We make things work. Okay, so I am the founder, CEO, and career coach recruiter over at Fulfillment. I formally launched the brand in 2021 as a result of my own layoff during the pandemic. I had a layoff back in 2020, and after multiple layoffs in my career, I've had 3 consecutive layoffs since 2018 in various roles. I said, you know what? During my time, I need to do something with myself. And so between 2020 and 2021, I started kind of getting out on LinkedIn, getting some content going. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to build an interesting brand around career coaching and talent development. And so I decided to create Fulfillment as a side hustle business in 2021. So I've been in business for a little bit over a year, helping job seekers find fulfillment along their path. As I had mentioned before, it is a career coaching talent consulting company. So really, I'm here to help job seekers not only find fulfillment in their job search, but I'm also here to help one-on-one with my clients as well, and really finding unique ways to help them progress and to really move along the job search journey. Hence our little chat about interview inspiration today with you all. I do have over 10 years of HR recruiting. I like to say fill scale, but it's full scale HR experience in areas of recruiting, talent acquisition, talent development. So that kind of goes hand in hand with the career coaching that I love to do. I have a multitude of different industry experience, including areas like SaaS, broadcast media, so like music, hence the bow tie. I'm an opera singer. We'll talk about that in a sec. Retail as well, customer service, and manufacturing, food production, and bakery of all things. I know my last role, I ate a lot of baked items, if you will. From the plant floor. So I've got a lot of really good industry experience that I absolutely love. So I'm a certified professional in human resources professional. So that was offered by the Human Resources Certification Institute. So I am certified in that arena. I am also a top job search expert to follow on LinkedIn through JobScan. So I received their accolade last year. And, at the end of the day, too, I mentioned before, I'm an opera singer. I studied opera in music of all places, of all degrees. Currently a job seeker, very much, looking for a full-time role myself here and there. A golfer, I love to golf, love to travel as well. And then really just here to be a friend, right? Because, again, the job search, as we all know, can be daunting. It can be really challenging wherever we are, like whether we're starting our job search, whether we do have interviews in the pipeline, whether we're trying to find some clarity, we're like, I don't know what kind of role I want to get into. So I think it's always important to really mention too that, we're all here to be friends and supporters of each other, regardless of where we are in our career and in life, right? So that's very important. So the next slide is just, oh, well, yeah, of course, duh, this last one. As I had mentioned before, I do offer one-on-one holistic career coaching under Fulfillment. That's exciting, safe, a very safe and confidential space, and also fun. Yeah, I literally just wrote this presentation this morning, so I'm just like, well, I'm kind of winging it, but that's the whole point of having an informal presentation and discussion. So okay, so again, very informal agenda today, right? So nothing like major. I just want to kind of just share off the top of my head, very unscripted, just some of my experience when it comes to interview prep. And I figured these 3 areas are kind of like what I want to talk about, right? So like, why is interviewing so dang hard? Like when we get into those interviews, why do we feel like, we're getting all nervous? Like, I am a little bit, right? Getting into my interview at 1:00. How can we relax, right, for those interviews? And what are some ways that we can really get into having a really effective conversation, right? We've heard before, like interviews should be conversational, not interrogations and things like that. And then just kind of other quick high level tips that I'm just thinking about sharing with you all as well. So that's the informal agenda. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now because I literally don't have any more visuals as it pertains to that there. So let me look at comments real quick and bring those back into play. Stephen, thank you. It looks fine to me. Thank you for the feedback on the presentation. Famia, thank you for being here, friend. I appreciate you and all that good stuff. Good catching up on chat too, as well as Stephen a little bit earlier. Krista, friend, thank you for being here from Canada. Love that you're doing this show. I appreciate it. I mean, again, I had some time to just do some of this stuff this morning and just to kind of bring out some value in these next few minutes and stuff like that. Edna here, thank you so much for tuning in. Absolutely, my pleasure. Krista, the fill scale, that's the whole idea, right? So it's like, absolutely, it's the fill scale, fulfillment, like punny kind of brand. That's what I love to do. So good stuff there. Awesome. Got it. So I appreciate it. Okay, so let's kind of talk a little bit about that first topic of discussion. So why is interviewing so hard, right? Like, what do we think about when we go into interviews and we're hard and it's just so difficult? Like, I think the biggest one is we don't know what they're going to ask us, right? Like, we have no idea if they're going to be like, well, tell me a time when you did this thing, in your job, or talk to me a little bit about yourself, right? That big, elevator pitch question, which I always recommend folks if don't assume like too much, but assume that they're going to ask you that question, whether you're in a phone screen, a first round interview, a panel. Somebody in that process is going to ask you, hey, tell me about yourself. Like, tell me about yourself, and all that stuff. So it's very, very important to prepare for that, that question, I think specifically. And really, the more that we can think about like common questions in our path with interview prep, the better off we're going to be prepared, and we're going to go in there with more confidence. But it's still going to be difficult because sometimes you may get questions like curveball questions, I like to call, where maybe a hiring manager might ask you something that's completely off left field, and you're kind of like, how I answer it, like, and then sometimes we get stuck, right? We're like, I don't know what to say there. But I think it's also okay, and this is again, any of the advice that I'm sharing as well is my opinions only, and it's only also designed for educational purposes. So that's just a disclaimer as well. So anything that I share here is my own advice and is to be seen as such. But when it comes to those kind of curveball questions, I think it's okay to ask that recruiter, ask that hiring manager, hey, can you give me a couple of seconds to think about, that question? And it's totally fine. Like, people ask that question, it's like, yeah, it's absolutely okay. Take some time, really respond, because I would rather, as a recruiter, I would rather want to hear a good quality response than immediately kind of going into the answer and rambling a little bit and yada yada yada. Oh my gosh, this is what I think. Oh my gosh, it's great. Talking fast, because I think the biggest thing for me when I interview is I like to ramble, and I have a tendency to ramble a lot. And so for me, a lot of it is, okay, Phil, like, in my mind, I'll kind of put my foot on the brake and say, Phil, slow down, like, breathe a little bit, take a couple seconds. And sometimes I'll even write down my answer, or I'll like write down a word or two to kind of get me to think about that question. Because again, I think the most important thing is to answer what they're asking, right? So try not to go off a tangent and say something that's not relevant to the question being asked. I think that's very, very important. Very, 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 very important. So that's one thing that we can do there to help kind of ease, the interviewing process, because all it is it's Q&A, right? It's a question and answer. They have questions, right? And their goal is to see and to understand that, yes, you're able to answer the question, but also they're also identifying, engaging, hey, are you able to share those responses, or do you have the qualifications in the answer that you're sharing in a way that's going to give the business, the hiring manager, the value that they're looking for? So take your time. I think that's very, very important. Interviews should not be rushed. It should be a quality, safe, meaningful conversation. That's the biggest thing that I would say when it comes to trying to ease the process up, right? So kind of moving on to the second step, right? How can we relax during interviews? I mentioned it a little bit before, kind of slowing down. I think one of the biggest things, especially with this interview I have this afternoon that I'm going to do, because I have an hour in between after this live and then my interview at 1 is I'm going to go outside. Like it is a gorgeous day out there. You can probably see the sun on the right hand, or I think it's on the left hand side because it's mirrored on the screen. But I'm going to go out. I'm going to walk my dog Grace. I'm going to change out of these clothes. I'm going to get some regular, just comfortable clothes on and stuff like that. And I'm going to walk my dog Grace. I'm going to get out. I'm going to get some fresh air. I'm going to breathe and do, I call it, and we've heard before, it's called the 4-box, 4-box count breathing exercises. So breathing in for 4 seconds, holding for 4, and breathing out for 4. I do breathing exercises in that time frame, usually like 15 minutes before the interview. And that's all I do. I don't look at my resume. I don't look at my job description. I don't do any of that stuff that I'm interviewing. I just breathe, and I sometimes meditate. And if you're, if you're the praying type, I'll do the same. I may pray a little bit, meditate. I might write some notes down, or even just write how I'm feeling and say, you know what? Here's how I'm feeling in this moment. I do feel nervous. And then maybe I'll tie that with an affirmation afterwards. I'll say, hey, you know what? I feel nervous in the moment, but I know once I get through that interview, I'm going to feel great about what happened. Like, regardless, I'm going to feel good because I did the best that I could. And I think the most important thing that we have to remember is that we're going into these interviews, whether it's a first round, a second round, a third round, final round, what have you, and we're doing the best that we can with what information we have. So I think that's very, very, very important in that aspect. So that's really a tip there that I can definitely attest to. Breathing, 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 making sure that we are taking that breath, because if we do not breathe, then we'll start feeling anxiety. We'll start feeling nervous, and we'll start tensing up. So if we can really relax our muscles and things like that, that will be very helpful in our interview and stuff like that. And I will say too, honestly, just on the other side of the table, right? Because I've recruited, I've been the interviewer a lot, probably as many times as I've been the interviewee. Is I've also, when I interview candidates, I'm always nervous. And sometimes I'm even more nervous when I interview candidates for jobs, because, like, what if I'm not asking the right questions, as it pertains to a position job or something like that? You know what I mean? So there's just all sorts of stuff there that that is, in that regard. So I definitely am nervous in that capacity, but also, and it's okay. It's okay to feel that way. But I am, and I do a lot of the same stuff on the back end as well. So the breathing, the journal writing, also just planning ahead, right? So not thinking the last minute, oh, I'm going to do all this research like 20 minutes before the interview, and I'm going to go in. Like, if you have a really big interview, prepare, do your research, do your due diligence, check out the company website, check out their LinkedIn page. Really focus and fine tune into that company, and really, really focus on even the people you're talking with. The very, very, very important. It's very important. I'm going to bring some comments up as well, just to keep that going here. Famia says, happy to support you, Phil. You got this. I appreciate that feedback. Absolutely. We've got Centennial in the house. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that. Let's see. We've got more. Absolutely. Appreciate what you're doing and saying. Love your content. Thanks for lifting others up while also walking and talking yourself. Absolutely. I mean, that's James. Thank you so much, James. I really do appreciate it. I mean, again, that's what it's all about, right? We're all going through this journey together. And so it's my pleasure, right? Being able to be here is definitely, it's a joy. It's definitely a joy. I do love doing what I do. So let's see. So I'm unemployed, but staying as positive as I can. And that's a really good point, Janelle, as well, right? Really making sure that we maintain positivity along our path. If we do get those rejections, right? If we feel like, hey, like I feel like I'm not getting anywhere, I feel like I'm stuck in my job search, that kind of stuff. Absolutely. Maintaining positivity, maintaining our perseverance, our persistence, right? And just our dedication as well. So very, very good comment. Really appreciate that a lot. Let me see what else we've got here. I'm having to go on two screens here. James asked, do you find better impact out of a 1 or 2 page resume or multi-page CV for interviews? So, of course, the big question, right? Yeah, this is something that it's subjective to user. I mean, for me, like, look, I've done this for over 10 years, right? Like, I've recruited for a long time. Like, you hear all the time, like a CV and a resume, right? They're two separate things, right? So your CV is your curriculum vitae, right? So typically a CV is going to be a longer document, right? So it's more around like education, projects, things like that. So a CV is worthy to be longer, whereas a resume is worthy to be shorter, if that helps a little bit. Resume again, like when I when I look at thousands and thousands of resumes, right? It's all about like the content, but it's also about the value and the impact, right? So it's got to be high level and it's got to be a snapshot, because remember, a resume and or CV are designed to get you an interview, right? So that's all it's designed. It's a marketing sales document that's designed to get people to schedule interviews with you. That's the important thing. So the and I say this too, like resume, CV, like so for example, recruiter like me, I'm a specialized people, like I'm in the people business, right? So like I may not know, I'm not an expert in like marketing, or I'm not an expert in, software development, right? Because that's not my line of work. So if I'm looking to hire like a software developer, right, and I have a job description, I'm working with hiring managers on that resume, like I as a recruiter need to understand clearly what what value you've brought to, those companies, and how that's going to relate to what the company and what hiring managers are looking for. So I hope that helps a little bit. Just very high level is really important. Stephen here, he says, love how you validate that it's okay for the interviewer to ask for a moment to compose to compose music theme too, but I know what you're talking about, to compose their thoughts before answering. 1,000%. And they should, like interviewers, recruiters, hiring managers, even job seekers. I mean, I've on the recruiting side too, right? Like I have also, like, if I've had other questions that I've wanted to ask job seekers and candidates, I've also asked that as well. Like I say, hey, you know what? Like, I know I had another question for you, but maybe I forgot, or I need a few minutes to to think of something, and that's totally normal, because again, right? We're human. We're not perfectionists. We are human in every aspect of our career. Um, that's what it is. It is what it is. So, but absolutely validation, and it's totally fine. And and here's what I would say, right? If we're asking permission, or I would say, like, if we're asking the other side of the table, hey, I need a few seconds to think and to reflect on that question, right? Um, if they seem kind of fishy about it, or they're kind of like, like whatever, like, is that really a company you want to work for? Like, that's how I think about it, right? So I'll tell kind of kind of an on topic story real quick. So I think one of the most important stories I have in my career that kind of pertains to recruiting and interviewing is, I had in my last job as head of talent for Brill, um, we brought in a accounting manager, a manager of accountancy, over to an on-site interview at the manufacturing plant that I worked at, and I could tell, like, he was beyond nervous. Like, it was just crazy. So the good news is I was his first interviewer meeting. So it was just me and him just chatting for, 30 minutes. And so it gave us some time for me to kind of explain the different hiring managers, who we was going to be speaking with, um, what to expect, in the interview process, lunch, stuff like that. It was an all day affair for a manager level role. And so, of course, the breaks in between, asking him for water, that kind of stuff. And before I started asking him questions, the very first thing I said to him was, let's just stand up, let's take some time together, and let's breathe. Let's do 4 breaths in, hold for 4 breaths out, and let's just take as much time as you need, right? And literally to about 10 minutes or so, we did that. That's it. And then we started asking each other questions. He had some really good questions for me. I had some really good questions for him. And it really naturally became a conversation. It's one of the most powerful interview stories that I have in my career, and I'll say it here. I wish more folks did that, because it is a nerve wracking moment, even on the phone too, right? Like phone interviews can always be like intimidating as well, like because it's just like, okay, I'm hearing the other person, so how can I really present my voice in a way that's confident? Breathe, slow your speech down as well. I think that's important. If you feel like you're talking fast, slow down, right? Just let's talk, and be conversational about it. Aisha, my friend, thanks for being here. She says it's better to take your time than to blurt out an answer. Absolutely, because sometimes, yeah, we feel like I think there's sometimes this, and this is a really good comment because I think sometimes there's this. I'd say like maybe there's this perception out there where if we if we're taking the time to think about a question, and this is such an important part of the interviewing, like if we take the time to answer, sometimes we may feel like, oh, like in our own self head, right? Like we may feel like, oh, like maybe I'm not the subject matter because I'm taking like 30 seconds to respond to that answer, right? But it shouldn't. To me, take all the time you need to answer the question. If we go over time in an interview, we will work around the schedule. Like that's why when I schedule like on-site interviews and I do interviewing, I always have gaps in between. So that way if we go over the call or over the on-site or over the webcam interview, we have some time together. And communication, right, is very important. So if we're late, oh hey, hiring manager, we're running a little bit behind. We'll be able to meet with the job seeker, the candidate at 12 o'clock, Eastern or something like that. Because I think the quality of answer is more important than blurting it out, as Aisha said. Very, very good comment. I really like that a lot. Very, 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 very good. Very exciting. I think the other thing too, we're kind of on the last topic, which is more about just kind of quick tips and things that come to my mind. Because again, this is very much informal, very much unscripted here with you all. But I also think the other piece too is once you're done with the interview, right? So when you've had that phone call, whether it's a 15-minute interview, 45-minute interview, on-site interview, panel interview, what have you, I would want you to take a couple seconds or even a few minutes after that interview um, and just celebrate the fact that you did the interview, right? Like celebrate that as a win, like regardless of outcome, right? Regardless of whether they bring you on for another interview, you get a job offer, celebrate the fact and the win that you completed the interview and give yourself that self affirmation that you did the best that you could. I think that's very important. And also journal too. I think there was a post I saw yesterday. Um, I don't remember who posted it, but it was really, really good where they talked about, if maybe it was even this morning, I don't remember. I keep the days. I can't keep track of what day it is, except I know it's Thursday because it's our live. But if you if you interview and let's say you don't get the job offer, I also think it's important too to write down notes as well. So like, what do you feel you did really well at in the interview? Like self-reflection, right? And what don't you feel, or what do you feel like you could have improved, right? So I think that's also important to write down because what's really nice about documenting, in my opinion, is when you do get a job offer somewhere, you can look back at those notes and you can really reflect on, hey, look how far I've come along my job search or along my path. I think that's really important to document because you're just kind of going around the motions and you're just doing interviews and stuff like that without kind of understanding what how this particular interview went and where you can learn. That sometimes a lot of that will just kind of be gelled together. So I think it's very important to document how you felt like you did, and then you may say, oh well, maybe I didn't do as great in this area. But then, maybe the hiring manager or recruiter, they bring you on site and you're like, oh, well, something I said or something I did or how I impacted was enough for me to get another interview, right? Or to get the interview from resume. So I think that's also very important. So you want to make sure that you celebrate the wins and celebrate the progression that you're doing along your job search. Because as we all know, right, getting those rejection letters, getting those, hey, we decided to pursue another candidate for the position, we decide to go a different direction, those common ones we see all the time, which I think they should be more personalized, in my opinion. A lot of times when we see those, we immediately just get into that defeat mode, like, oh, like I'm a failure. Oh, I can't believe that I got, I got rejected after all this work, after all this time, things like that. Um, that's important to make sure that you are celebrating wins, and do when you do get those rejection letters, that you've seen a lot on LinkedIn. No, next opportunity, right? So try to feel how you feel in the moment, move on, and keep moving, keep going and shaking and grooving until you've got that next interview, because it will happen. It absolutely will happen. Absolutely. So that's just a little bit of interview inspiration. I'm going to bring the presentation back up because I do have a few updates and a couple things to share, as it pertains to fulfillment a little bit. But yeah, just a short, sweet, like very informal. Again, if you're here live, please let us know what you think about this. I may start doing some of these more often. If I don't have a guest speaker, I want to, really be here live with you all and just again bring this into a safe space, where we can kind of talk. I can give you a quick tip insight like that, and then grab your feedback, grab some comments. But if you're here live, definitely let us know what you think and everything like that. I have one question. I can only take about another question, and then I've got to share some updates. So I'm going to get Centennials here. Um, what do you suggest for someone who does not have the work experience but who has done freelancing other projects? Very good question. So again, right, I would not to say this is a bad question because it's not, but I think the way that you asked it here, I'm gonna empower you a little bit, right? So you do have the work experience, right? Like doing other projects, doing freelancing, doing contract work, doing temporary work, all that knowledge base that you're gaining is experience. So showing that, sharing that, most importantly, I think is critical, because if you're not presenting that stuff on resume, right, or on portfolio or LinkedIn, what have you, then it's not gonna be visible, right? So I think that's the most important thing I would say. It's not the fact you don't have experience; you do have experience. And I get this question a lot from people. Well, I contracted 3 roles. Like, what do I do? Do I share that? Do I not? Like, what happens there? Right? It's experience. You've learned it and you've gained it. So I would share it. I think that's very important. Really good question. Okay, so I'm going to bring the presentation back up because I do have a few things that I want to share with y'all, that are very important. And keep commenting too as well, friends. And if you're in the replay as well, please let us know where you're tuning in from. But seriously though, let me know how you feel about these little like quick inspirational tips, and if you want to see more of them. So in the future, so I share the PowerPoint again here. So we did talk about, hey, why interviewing is so hard. We talked a little bit how we can relax for some interviews, breathing, journaling, and then just other quick little nuggets and tips along the path. So let's say, for example, that you're just kind of like, yeah, you know what? I'm not really getting interviews. I'm applying. Some things aren't happening. All that kind of stuff. Well, I created a solution back in January last month, and it is an introductory job seeking online masterclass. So it is our very first online course, for job seekers, and it's really designed for the job seeker who's looking to like find fulfillment along their job search, but then it's also designed for somebody who's like, man, maybe I haven't job searched for a while and I need a refresher on how to do so and how to kind of get unstuck in your job search. It's a very high level, kind of similar to what we did here on interviewing, but it really encompasses a little bit more and some strategies that I have in there. You can see some topics that I talk about: the causes of a challenging job search, right? Why is our job search really challenging and difficult? And then the road to finding some results, right? How can we navigate our road so that we're going to have a good results oriented job seeking search? And then cause effect indicators around there. So like why things are happening the way they are, why aren't they happening in our search journey? And then of course how to fine tune your path. So those 4 topics I have in this little introductory online job seeking masterclass that I did launch last month. Um, it is a full scale career coaching program. That's something we're going to be talking about a little bit later. I don't know why I've kept that in there. But the job search for only $47 is yours. So $47 investment. You can find it on www.fulfillment.com/intro-online-course. I'll bring that back a little bit later. But yeah, for $47, I mean, you can get a lot of value jam packed to this introductory job seeking online masterclass. I've had a couple of job seekers purchase the course, and we did a little follow up one on one meet and greet to kind of get their feedback. And every single person that has reached out to me who's purchased it has said, "Hey, it's been really powerful. Thanks for your help." And some of those folks are doing more one-on-one services with me as well, which I'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, it's for $47. It's yours. So definitely, it's something to look into. It's definitely a solution that I wanted to provide those job seekers who may not be ready for one-on-one coaching, but they're looking for some value there, to try to get kind of out of that job search rut, and get unstuck in the search because it can be challenging. So that's just something that I have as an offering. If you do purchase the course, though, I will say, um, I will offer a free 30-minute tune-in session with you. And so that would be a session where we could go on webcam, or we could talk on the phone, and we can kind of dig a little deeper as to how your job search is going and find ways and other solutions in more detail that could really help you further. So that's something that if you do purchase this online masterclass, you will get a free 30-minute session with me. That's something to note as well. The other stuff too, people have asked me all the time too, like, well, what does Fulfillment Solutions do as far as service offerings, and what's different about you all? And so I'd say, I said earlier, fulfillment and the way that I coach is very holistic. So I'm all about the entire job search journey, not just certain elements of it. And so my services are broken down into these 5 areas. So we did a little bit of kind of interview inspiration today, but all these areas like resume review, LinkedIn review, interview prep, networking, job search strategy, where we'll talk about how we can network better with those hiring managers, those appropriate stakeholders at those companies. I mean, and of course, accountability. So I've got folks who are interested in having some goal setting with me around their job search, how many roles they should apply to, a week, things like that. I do a lot of that. So it's very interactive. It's very customized, in terms of what you're looking for help on. So I offer all of these 5 areas into a full-scale career coaching program, which is typically a 4-week long program that you can get all of this stuff here as part of a bundle package. Also, I included a fulfillment experience coaching program, which is my full-scale 4-week program that incorporates all of these things within your job search. But then let's say once you land that job offer, I'm there with you for your first 90 days of employment. And so I just also designed that big kind of signature program last year as well, because a lot of times when you pivot into a new career or you're getting into a new role, those first couple of months are really intimidating. And so I wanted to create a solution and a unique program for folks to kind of reach out and say, you know what, I want to be with you 4 months from between the job search and then also during that time frame. I will say too, those folks who have signed on to do the full scale and or the fulfillment experience program, they've all landed job offers, which has been great. They've also have really found fulfillment along their job search. But then also, I do offer these services one-on-one as well, just as needed. So if folks are like, hey, Phil, I really want to do some more interview coaching with you, I can do that as a one-off, package as well. So all my services are very customized and really fine-tuned to your needs, and that's really what makes me different as a coach, and what makes the brand different. So it's very interactive there. But that's really what I do as far as the business, the side hustle, and the coaching and all that stuff. Really, too, I mean, if you're ready to kind of dig deeper and find more fulfillment with me, I also wanted to kind of lay out just my other areas where you can find me. Aside from LinkedIn, I'm really trying to get more social engagement outside other platforms besides LinkedIn. So, of course, my website, www.fulfillment.com. Is where you can kind of see more of what I do. I've got a contact us button on the top of the screen on my website. So if you click on contact us and fill my little form out, I definitely will get back to you there. And we can do a quick little consultation call and stuff like that to see how things are going. And if you are really interested in investing in yourself and coaching. But don't take my word for it, right? We've had some really big wins this month and last month. We've had a couple of new clients, job seekers who have landed relatively quickly in some senior level roles, VP level positions, director level jobs in operations, engineering. We've got a creative director who's looking to land pretty soon. We've got education folks who are looking to pivot into corporate jobs. So I work with a lot of different people, and I've got quite a bit of testimonials. So I encourage people too, when you're looking to either utilize a career coach or to utilize a product or a service. And this is just general advice, right? Like, see what other people are saying about their work and how they impact them. and their credibility. I think all of that stuff is very important. Like when you really are looking for some help, it's very important. I do the same. I've got coaches that I work with, and every single one of them I do research on beforehand. Sometimes I'll ask for references. I'll, if that's appropriate. So I mean, I do my due diligence before I invest in myself and into a coach, right? But I definitely encourage you to do the same. Check out my testimonials to kind of see what some clients are saying, and then of course social media accounts. I'm on LinkedIn here. You can connect with me here. I do have a YouTube channel as well, youtube.com/@fulfillment. Instagram @fulfillment solutions, and of course TikTok, which is @fulfillment. So if you think of fulfillment, FulPhillment, you'll find me somewhere. So it's definitely a part of the brand and all that good stuff. But yeah, so again, I really appreciated everybody being here just for a little bit of interview inspiration. I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick and go back to the comments a little bit and see if we had anything come up here. Let's see. We had a thank you, Phil, come up in the comments. Absolutely. Let's see who that was there. Oh, James, absolutely. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much too for the feedback. Let us know too, folks, if you're, in the live here, if you're looking at the replay, definitely please let me know what your thoughts were about this little mini inspirational LinkedIn Fulfillment Live. If you liked it, please let me know. If you want to see more, let me know. If there are other topics that you want me to kind of cover high level, please let me know in the comments. Send me a DM if you're not comfortable commenting. Let me know. This is something that I'm trying out just to get out some more inspiration and just some, quick little guidance and quick tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so please do, friends. I'm going to bring some captions up again. The other updates I have real quick, if you're still listening here as well, if you're going to look on the replay, this month too, I'm also going to be launching our first new LinkedIn newsletter. So that's going to be around some job search as well. Also, some tips and tricks from a recruiter's perspective around the job search strategy and why, what themes I'm seeing in the industry that I could share with you all. So that'll be a monthly newsletter that I'm going to try to launch this month, if not in March. And then also the other thing too is I get folks too that sometimes they say, I'm not only stuck in my job search, but I'm also stuck and figuring out like what I want to do next, right? So they're like, I've been in this role for a while, but I may want to do something different. And so one thing too that I have as well is I have a new kind of clarity, just a high level like career clarity worksheet that I will be launching soon. It is a free templated worksheet that I will be bringing out on LinkedIn, and it's just a sheet for you to kind of work on yourself. It's just self reflection to think about some ways where, hey, maybe this industry might be kind of interesting to look at, or maybe a different kind of company would be kind of cool to check out, things like that. So it's very, very high level, but it's just another resource that I wanted to bring out because I do get questions a lot from folks that are like, hey, I've been in this role, but I don't know where to turn next, right? So it's just something it's kind of a self-reflection exercise that you can do. And really from there, for those folks who do that worksheet, we could also do a quick little like tune-in session and kind of learn a little bit more together. Because look, friends, like the job search is hard and but it doesn't have to be, right? Like we can do this together. We can really make things work in your journey and things like that. So I definitely appreciate that. But yeah, friends, I will bring back my website here just so y'all know. More information, www.fulfillment.com. Definitely go there. Let me know. If you're interested in doing a tune-in session, just fill out my form on my website. Click on Contact Us. You'll be able to reach out there. That's the best way to reach out to me is through that form. If you're interested in further coaching, if that's something that you feel would help you there. And of course, please connect with me on LinkedIn as well. I'm here and happy to be a resource on LinkedIn. I'm here quite a bit. That's my company page, linkedin.com/company/fulfillment. And then of course, my personal www.linkedin.com/in/Phil the recruiter. Definitely feel free to reach out to me there as well. We still have folks in the audience. Definitely appreciate everybody who's been here. Whether you were here the whole time, whether you're here for a few minutes just saying hi, whether you're on the replay, really, really sincerely appreciate everybody's support. And of course, your warm vibes on my interview today. Because look, I mean, I'm in this with you all as well, but also at the same time, I'm here to help and to add as much value as I can, the fulfilling way and the right way. So, friends, I appreciate your help, appreciate your support. We're going to have our next LinkedIn Live as well in 2 weeks. So people ask me too, well, when do you do your Fulfillment LinkedIn Lives? They're typically every other Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific. They also stream on my YouTube channel as well. So if you have YouTube and you're more interested in kind of looking at our stuff there and engaging on YouTube, that, of course, I'll bring that back again. www.youtube.com/@fulfillment. We launched that a couple of weeks ago, so people can see these lives and stuff like that and replays there too, if they may not have a LinkedIn account. So, but that's all there. And let's see, Centennial, absolutely, yeah, I really appreciate it. Again, feedback is really the way that I bring out my content. So every content item that I share is because of you. It's because of what you all want, and what you all are looking for, and how I can try to help and add value. So I absolutely, it's been my pleasure doing that. As I said before, my fulfillment lives are every other Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific. So our next one that I will be getting planned is going to be Thursday, March the 2nd. So save the date for that day, March the 2nd, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific. I'll have a guest speaker there, and we'll just keep these going. So, friends, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time, your energy, and your support. And we will see you all in 2 weeks on next Fulfillment Live, episode 3. Take care, everybody.